tell you what, I was a whole minute late getting over here. I had to go change my shirt. It smelled like cat pee. Cat peed on my dang shirts. I'm sure some of you guys have been there. But it's Monday the 28th, August. And as always, my name's Greg Surratt. Nice to see you guys or have you here. We got a Monday show here. I'm doing a solo show, so I'm going to be doing all this, messing around with all this stuff all by myself. I put that picture back there. That's from my weekend. We went up to Lake Erie here. I had a couple 2-day little club derby on Saturday and Sunday. And I took a picture. It was supposed to be the whole scene with the water, but it ended up just being my dirty fish finders. Which I clean them, okay? I clean them every couple times out, but they were dirty. So I don't want to hear anything about that. Got my dirty fish finders and my casting rod sitting there on my deck. We had a fun time, man. I hope all you guys had a good week out there in this late beginning of school for a lot of us. A lot of us went back, kids went back last week or whatever, but here we are in good old October where the winter is coming, but the weather's starting to cool down, getting a little bit out of the heat wave. We got a lot to talk about. Of course, I'll do the weather and stuff, even though I'm solo. We don't have Rain Man weather guy here today, but I think I can handle it. We got all kinds of stuff to talk about today. We got Matt Bertram on. He is just a great dude. We'll get to that in a little bit. We got some local derbies. We got the elites that wrapped up their season there at Thousand Islands, St. Lawrence, whichever. But, man, they had some just absolute massive bags up there this past week. And we'll talk about that coming up, too. I was a little late. I had to go upstairs and get my shirt on. Got my casting shirt on. It's on this side. Those are some great dudes. And another thing I got on today with you guys, some of you might know something about. Where's the blur? There it is. I got my original jams, folks. These pants they got to be close to 35 years old, and I've had them for a long time, but they still fit and they feel good. But anywho, as far as stuff goes, guys, here's a little like and subscribe. I'll probably ought to get some kind of a sound effect to go up with that. But as far as it goes, the weather. Let's just talk about that and we'll get that out of the way. Boom, look at that. I just decided to do that rather than talk about it. So, what we've got coming here in the next week, guys, is we've got the next 3 days are in the 80s, 4 days, and then it starts to get hot. And I looked at the wind report as far as what's going on wind-wise, and we've got basically a little bit of wind on Wednesday, but other than that, and if you could see there, Wednesday's got a low of 60 and a high of 75, so I guess there's something going on coming through there. Obviously a warm front, because here it comes there towards the weekend, and of course in the beginning of next week we're going to be back in the 90s, which I don't know. We got through some hot, and now the water started cooling stuff, and then we're going back up. So we got a little roller coaster going on with the winter, or cooler weather coming on, which is normal, obviously, for us. It's like spring, but not near as drastic. And so there's the weather, guys. No rain whatsoever at all. As a matter of fact, God dang it, I was doing this a couple hours ago, and I saw that there was no rain, and so I was like, oh, man, I got to go water my garden. It's still watering. That was 2 hours ago. I forgot about it. Hopefully I remember it before I go to bed to turn it off. But either way, no rain's coming. So that's the deal. As far as bass forecast goes, I was trying to pull it up on the computer like I had that one day, but something was going on. It was flashing. So I'm just going to look at it on my phone. And I'm going to tell you what it says. I can tell you one thing about Bass Forecast that I have noticed, and I'm sure anybody that's used Bass Forecast has noticed, that it changes, and it can change pretty drastically. And I know that, a lot of it's based on the weather, and of course all that changes and whatnot. So We're going to look at it over the week, but I can guarantee you that it's going to change tomorrow. And it might even change before the dang show's over. It changes quite a bit. But our best day of the week, as far as bass forecast goes, is going to be tomorrow, which we've got a 5.2 day, and Friday says 1.1. So I can pretty much guarantee you by tomorrow morning, that 5.2 is either going to go up or go down, and then Friday's going to go up or go down, but it should be in the relative area as far as is what they're saying. And tomorrow we've got the Tuesday nighter over at Allen like we do, and there is which it says on here. It says there's a major bite time, 12 a.m. to 1 a.m. So that's not going to help us. And then another one from 11:22 a.m. to 1:22 p.m. It's not going to help us a bit. There's a minor bite time from 7 p.m., 7:18 p.m. to 8:18 p.m. So we've got a little something maybe to look forward to tomorrow. And as far as other quick stuff that I'm going to talk about, Bass Forecast is cool, and then we also have Bass University, which I can't say enough about Bass University. Today I got John Cruz up there talking about punch shot bass fishing on water. So he's live talking about punch shot, which I've never really actually done it, but I know that it's a drop shot thing with a big heavy weight that you use in grass like you're punching it. And so if you want to know about that, you get on there. He'll tell you all about it. There's all kinds of good stuff up there to check out, you guys. Like I said, just do this stuff for fun. I'm not endorsed or sponsored or anything by any of those guys. It's just stuff that I use. And as far as Bass University goes, I was on the water this weekend with a guy that had not been ever at Lake Erie, and his name is Sean Greer, and he was a super nice guy, and we had a great time. And he was getting back into bass fishing, and I was saying, man, I'll tell you, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but Bass U sure does give you a lot of information. And it's perfect for the angler that is just like him or like was me here 5 years ago or something when I really started getting back into fishing after taking some time off. Just so much information on any structure, any bait, any conditions weather-wise, I mean, I could sit here and look at it. I'm not going to sit there and count them all up, but there's a lot of stuff in there that's beneficial to the angler who's really trying to learn, and that's what it's all about for me. Doing this show, doing anything. And I spend hours, man, a week looking at the podcasts and all that kind of thing, and I just try to just immerse myself in knowledge of bass fishing, and hopefully some of it wears off here and there. Apparently, I'm a slow learner because I sure have been working my butt off, and it's not paying off when I go way in, but I think that'll change if I just keep doing it. So, Bass University is pretty cool, you guys. Anybody that out there is trying to learn. I don't know what's up with this. There we go. I don't know what's up with that, but anyway, Bassmaster Elites. There at the St. Lawrence, Thousand Islands. We have 4 bags, 4-day totals of over 100 pounds. We had 4 of them, so 4 Centennial Mark. Patrick Walters took the trophy on that with 105 pounds for 4 days. Chris Johnson, I mean, I can't even imagine, to be honest with you, catching that quality of fish. I mean, I can imagine it, but I sure haven't done it. Chris Johnson was behind him with 103 pounds and 12 ounces. Koya Fujita was there in 3rd place. That guy's been on fire. Apparently, he really likes the smallies. He had a 100-pound bag, 102 and 5 ounces. And, obviously he won the last one a couple weeks ago, so he's really feeling the smallies right now. Taku Ito had 101 pounds and 7 ounces. He's always been a good smallmouth guy here in his first few years. And Kyle Welcher, he just missed the 100-pound mark with 99 and 12 ounces to round out the top 5. Just so you guys know, going into day 3, top 50 was 60 pounds. I'm sorry, that's going into day 4. So 60 pounds and 11 ounces was the cut. So we're talking the cut was an average of 20-pound bags, buddy. That fisher is just out of control, amazingly good, and that's all there is to it. I have not been there yet. I have Talked to a couple buddies about maybe doing the Toyotas up there next year as the fourth Toyota that we do. I think that would just be an awesome time. I mean, obviously it would. And as far as the other stuff that was accolades or whatever given out, Kyle Welcher ended up winning the Angler of the Year this year. And so he had a heck of a season. I don't know much about Kyle at all, but I know he's obviously awesome. And Joey Cifuentes, he won the Rookie of the Year, which was a heck of a feat just based on the just pure talent that we've got in the rookies that are the rookie class this year. Like I said, won four trophies. So 4 new elite champions were, made this year, which was awesome. I don't. It's hard to explain it, and I know that we'll probably get into talking about why that is and all that kind of thing on later shows. But as it stands, that's what's going on right now with the Bassmaster Elites. Okay, and so that was their last. Obviously, they got those out. That was the last tournament of the year. Notable on the MLF side, the BPT did put out their schedule for 2024, and it's a pretty cool schedule. I've got it right here, and I think I'll just go over it with you guys. Stage 1 starts January 30th through February 4th, and that's at Toledo Bend, which I guess Toledo Bend's coming back as far as stuff goes. There's been some talk about it fishing a lot better than it has, I guess, the last couple of years. Stage 2, we got February 20th, 25th over at Santee Cooper down there in South Carolina, and I surely haven't been there, but I know some of my buddies that have been down there and say it's awesome. It sounds like it's scary. I've got my good buddy David Fluker's down there in South Carolina. He was up here, of course, for a lot of years. A lot of people know him that probably are watching, and he's down there and he's scared to death of it. He's told me that, and so I want to try it out. But man, I hear him on that. I would say please get a leash before you spend too much time down there. And then they got the Red Crest. It's a lay lake this year, and that is March 14th to the 17th. So that should be cool. And I'll tell you right now, Stage 3, April 9th through the 14th at Dale Hollow. That's the one that I'm super excited about. I actually have a small little cabin down there at Dale Hollow. And I did last year, or this year, I did an MLF. I did Stage 6 at at St. Clair. And that was a heck of a good time. And I couldn't be more excited I already signed up to be an official and for Dale Hollow this coming year. And I can't wait to go out there for 5 days with those guys and see what they do, because I've only been down there a couple years there about that place ago, and I'm still obviously learning a lot. It's a beautiful lake. I can't say enough about how beautiful the lake is, and it's like a mini Cumberland if no one's been there and then has been to Cumberland. It's about half the size, and it fishes very similarly with the Highland Lake thing going on. Lots of rocks and deep water, and I'm sure a lot of people know, but Dale Hollow it holds the record smallmouth. And off the top of my head, I can't remember, but I believe it's around 11 pounds, and that was out of Dale Hollow. Anyway, Stage 4 is later in April, the 30th, and into May, the 5th of May, down at Lake Eufaula. The heavy hitters, which we know that KVD is fishing in heavy hitters, and he's also fishing in the Red Crest. I probably should have said that there. But heavy hitters down at Kiss Me Chain, 18th of May through the 23rd of May. And then Stage 5, a couple weeks later, June 4th to the 9th at Chowan River in North Carolina. And I would have to say that if there's one person out there that knows anything about the Cowan River, by all means, please leave me please leave me a message or something, because I sure haven't heard of it. But I'm sure that I haven't done any research either. I just going over what I read, and so I'll have to look into that one a little bit and see what's going on with the Cowan River. Chowan? Chowan. Cowan? Either way. Stage 6, June 25th and to the 30th of June at the St. James River down there in Richmond, Virginia. I have not fished the James, but I have fished Smith Mountain Lake, which is right there south of Richmond as well, and that's awesome. I'm sure that I got to get up to James River at some point. And then next year, about a year from now, we've got August 6th to the 11th at the St. Lawrence River again. which obviously will be awesome to watch. So there's your schedule of the MLF Bass Pro Tour events for the coming year. Looking forward to it. They're going to be doing, hopefully, the Toyota's series schedule coming up pretty soon. I know they already did the Invitationals and, of course, the Bass Pro Tour. So looking forward to seeing what the Toyota series stuff looks like. And as far as local stuff goes, local derbies, local lakes, all that, let's start with Hoover. That's going to be right on my face. I'll move that over there. So Hoover is like a lot of the lakes here in town. A lot of the lakes here in town. What'd you say here, Mark? Biggin's there, I believe, out down there at Chowan. I did not know that, Mark. I'm going to have to look into it because my mom lives down in North Carolina, and I always go down there and I fish, Jordan and Falls, and I fish whatever the other one is there. Jordan Falls and Piercy Priest or something like that. I can't remember the name of it now, but they're cool lakes. They're very shallow and they're very dirty, and there's big fish in them. But anyway, as far as local lakes go, Hoover, water temperatures are cooling down. I just got a text from my local source, Legend. Water in the coves is around 79 degrees, and out in the main lake it's about 76. That was about an hour ago, and the water clarity, he said, is just awesome. So it's looking good there. We'll see what the fish do as far as moving up here after this heat wave goes, but they're on the way, and so we can all pretty much plan on them being up there here in a little bit. Thursday night tournament at Hoover Lake, we had Williams and Neeland. They won with 10 pounds, 0.44 with a 281 big fish. And behind them, Verhoevic and Verhoevic with 10.24. So just a little bit. And they had a 3 pound, 3.05 pounder. So they had a little bigger fish. The big fish of the tournament was by Gibson and Rochon, and they had a big fish of 4.02. It has 20 anglers that fished on a Thursday, and only 6 of them had a limit. So that, it's fishing. It's still winter, or it's still summer, and it's still fishing tough. But people, there's some people that get them here and there, and that's what it's all about. Moving on to Delaware. Delaware. Don't have a lot to tell you about Delaware. It's been fishing pretty tough lately. I know that the Thursday nighters there ended. I don't know if they fished last week or the week before, but they're done with Thursday nighters at Delaware. There is an upcoming Ohio Mega Bass that's in September 23rd, I believe. So there'll be quite a bit more information coming out as some of my friends go up there and start pre-fishing for that. And I don't know. I might even go up there and pre-fish a little bit too, and if I find anything, maybe I'll fish in it with them, but I doubt it. It's been tough, like I say, but this cooler weather might help that out a little bit. But then again, it's not getting cooler. So we'll see what happens down there. I've got nothing for you at Indian. I'm just going to go ahead and pass on Indian. But I do have some cool stuff to talk to you about with Buckeye. I just recently found out about the Cranberry Marsh Bass Club. David Slonaker, guy that is in the Mid-Ohio Bass Masters Club, text me or whatever, told me follow this or join this page, and I checked it out. So they've got, derbies they do. On Sunday, yesterday at Buckeye, they had a derby, and there were 24 entries. I don't know if that's 24 boats, if they fish by themselves, or it's 12 boats with co-anglers. But Bill Nixon won that tournament. And now we're talking about Buckeye here. So he won with 5 pounds and 5.676 pounds. He only had 2 fish, but he ended up getting a 4.07. So he won that Buckeye event with 2 fish, a little under 6 pounds. Obviously, that's a huge one to catch a Buckeye this time of year. Bud Cooksey, my bad, Bud, if I said your name wrong, he was in second place with 5.25, and he had a 2.75 pounder. So that's what's going on at Buckeye. It's not a big shock to anybody, I don't think. But that's what happened there. The thing that I was thinking was pretty cool about this about the Cranberry Marsh Bass Club was that they offer. I got on their page and scrolled around a little bit. They just came out with their schedule for next year already, and they've got all their permits and all that in hand. But they also, with the regular, I guess, I don't know, they do a Sunday, and then they also do a Thursday or Wednesday morning series. That's pretty interesting to me because I am very busy. I've got now 3 kids, and I've got, both my olders are in their baseball and their softball, and that's pretty much, it takes up a lot of time. And it's all, there's something going on almost every day. And when I do have to go, when I do go get to go fishing, I'm missing something or whatever. So I'm way, way more available, I believe, I feel like during the week. So that Wednesday morning tournament's super interesting to me for next year. I wrote down their schedule so I could tell you guys about it. What they're fishing is one Wednesday morning a month. So, I mean, that's pretty doable as far as I'm concerned. April, on the 17th, they start over at Buckeye. My birthday, May 15th, they're at Delaware. June 19th, they're at Allen Creek. And July 17th, they're at Pleasant Hill, which I've never been to Pleasant Hill. I'm going to just go to that one just because I haven't fished it before. And then August 21st, they're at O'Shaughnessy. And then they've got their championship. I don't know if that's a cumulative championship with Sundays and Wednesdays points total, or if it's just a Wednesday total thing. But that is on September 18th. So I'm going to get a hold of those guys and just kind of get a little information about it. I was not aware of that circuit or anything like that. So always good to know some new stuff that's going on around. Now, as far as the old Griggs skis goes, we had a couple things last week at Griggs. Of course, we had the Wednesday Scioto Scrambler that Rainier Wolf puts on. And I don't know Matt and Kyle well enough to tell you what their last names are, but they got the W last week with 10.09. I don't know what you say. You just say 10 pounds 09, or it's not ounces, whatever that is. But their big bass was 2.73. I didn't see anything else that happened with them. And by the way, their last Wednesday event of the year is tomorrow. Oh, I'm sorry, it's on Wednesday. I feel like it was Tuesday. So tomorrow, Wednesday's their last event. 5:45 to 8:30. It's $40 a boat. One cool thing that they do, I don't know why that's doing that, but one cool thing they do is they allow a 12 and under angler in your boat as a third angler. So 12 and under, you got kids who want to go with you on Wednesday night, totally welcome. You can have 3 in the boat, and I think that's awesome. I think all these local stuff, that's just a great little deal. The other thing that happened was Buckeye Elites were there on the 27th, so I guess that was it was yesterday. Buckeye Elites were there yesterday. They had 18 anglers that fished that event. And, of course, the Elites is you're in your boat by yourself. There is no co-angler. There were 18 anglers that fished that. There were 3 limits, and there were 5 zeros. And that is Griggs. All right. I'm going to go ahead and say his name wrong. Sorry, Andy. Andy Blauvit, I think is how it looks like it's spelled. He won with a 933. And the big fish of that tournament was caught by Joe Bogani. Yep, Bogani, I think. He had a 3.46, which is massive for Griggs right now, especially. And Phil Carver was in 6th with 5.05, and he had a 3.01 big fish. I think Phil's awesome, so I figured I'd mention him in there. He's the one who runs all that stuff anyway. Moving on to Alum Creek, we have got our Tuesday nighter, and last week Tyler Berger and CJ Shaver won with 14.85, and they had a 4.39, and Charlie Hartley was in second place with 10.10. There's nobody that can say a dang bad word about Charlie. He's one of the nicest guys I've ever met. So it was good to see him do well. He'd had a couple struggles. Like he was fishing like me and Tony the last couple weeks. So it's really good to see him do that. We didn't do that. I don't know. I have to figure that out at some point. But our guest that we have on today, Matt, he got a a couple Tuesdays ago, he ran into him. So he did real. I think he was in second place with 9 something. He had a 4 something. He can bring it down there for sure. Absolutely. But as far as other Alum Creek stuff goes, I don't think there was anything else that I knew of that went on, and I didn't actually do a major search. But Alum's doing what everything's doing. It's fishing good for. There's like on the Tuesday nighter, there's like 6, 7, you know, teams that are they get it a lot more than at least me, and so those guys are always in the top, half of the stuff, and it's just kind of the deal out there. For everybody else, it's kind of tough, but then again, I mean, if you keep fishing, you're going to run into them at some point, and that's what I say to myself every night before I go to sleep, and every morning before I wake up, or when I wake up and go brush my teeth, because you get it, it'll wear on you, man. Not catching them, it can just get your confidence so dang low. So we'll have a good day here, and that'll change. But as far as my fishing for the week goes, I was out fishing 4 days last week. I fished Alum on Tuesday, and then I went up to Erie, like I said, and I got some sunburn. I got a little raccoon going and all that fun stuff. Looking good. So that's pretty much what I have got for you guys as far as my reports. Let me get this off of there. Oop. But in the meantime, we got Matt Bertram is going to join us here in a little bit. He's going to talk a little bit about what he does down there up there at Erie. I know he does a lot of chatterbait fishing, and I know that he was fishing for greenfish. I don't know about on Saturday, but he was definitely fishing for greenfish on Sunday. I just go out there, and I know that it's kind of rough. We didn't have a terrible on Friday morning or afternoon when we went out. I didn't get up there till about 1 o'clock, and we went out. It was kind of rough. We couldn't go too fast. I don't know about you guys. I gauge how bad the waves on Erie are by how fast I can go in my boat. And so a pretty average Erie chop is probably around 35, maybe 40, and that's an average chop. When you get into 25, it's still kind of average. That's what we had to do. That's what we did on the way home or on the way in on Sunday. It was about 25, and I've been out, of course, a lot. I've been out quite a bit rougher, but I just say that I just go on out, man, because I want to go fishing for smallmouth, and I know that there's better. Largemouth in Lake Erie than there are in a lot of our fisheries. But man, the way I look at it is we're going up to Lake Erie. You got smallmouth up there. I don't go down to Gunnersville and go fishing for smallmouth because they got all the big largemouth. So I go out and I go fishing for smallmouth as often as I can because god dang it, I'm addicted to it. It's real hard to go fishing for smallies or largemouth for me up there. I don't have any spots whatsoever in the bay. Really, I mean, I fished in there a couple times. It's not like I haven't been a lot. Some of these guys, some of the tournaments are like forced in to stay in the bay. They don't let you go out, of course, small craft advisories or whatever. So, I mean, I have had to do it, but man, I don't choose it, and I certainly wouldn't do it if I had a chance of getting out there. And I've been out when you can only go 10, and you're down in the damn waves, and you got water on both sides of you, and you can't see anything, and it is scary, I keep going and I get past it. You get out there, and depending on which way the wind's blowing, you can get behind an island, and that's kind of what is obviously the big, huge goal in my head, man. Just get out there and get behind an island, because after you get out there, you're okay, But anyway, so I went out there, and it wasn't bad at all on the morning on Saturday. We just went out full speed. We didn't have any trouble. Kicked up a little bit, had to go 25, 30 on the way in, but it was worth it. And I didn't catch fish like I wanted to. And everybody, I don't think we weighed a 4-pound smallmouth all week. And so it wasn't going crazy. All right. But it was fun. We had storms and stuff. But anyway, as far as that goes, Matt, like I say, was up there and he was doing some greenfish fishing. So let's see what is going on with Matt. I just got him on here. Hey, Matt.
What's going on, Greg?
You can hear me? All right. That's the main thing, brother. Do you have a good day, man?
Yeah, pretty good day so far. How about you, man?
I've had a great one. I'm a little sore. I mean, you go out there and you go to your, you're a little rough. And I'll be honest, man, like here in the last couple of years, I didn't used to care. I just used to just freaking just go for it. And I would deal with all the stuff that fell off my boat later. But it hurts, buddy. And my co angler was like, I was going pretty dang slow. So it wasn't terrible. But anyway, did you stay in the
Yeah, we
bay
get a little
above this?
up there. Took quite a few more days to recover from those rough rides for
Dude,
sure.
it's super. I still, even from St. Clair, those 5 days, I still have a little something on my neck, and I don't want that again. So, as long as I can get out there, I don't care how long it takes me.
Yeah.
All right, Matt. So, you are a member of the Columbus Bass Masters. You are the treasurer, correct? Is that the title?
I am.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, why don't you just give me
It is. Yes.
how about just a basic Matt Bertram bio for people who don't know you, and what about your family, if you want to talk about work stuff or just your overall fishing experience, buddy.
Sure. Yeah, I'll make it. I guess I'll make it brief. I'm not that interesting, I suppose. But you know, it's my wife and my three dogs and I. We've been down here in Columbus now for just a little less than 12 years or so, but I'm originally from northeastern Ohio, just about 30 minutes east of Cleveland. So grew up fishing, Chagrin River, the Grand, and then, occasionally getting out on Erie. And of course, whatever ponds I could either ride my bike to when I was a youngin or, drive to when I became a young man of my own means. So yeah, been down here in central Ohio for a little over a decade now. And, you know, um, I played ice hockey for over 20 years since I was, real little. And thanks to a car accident, wasn't able to really do that anymore. And I needed some sort of outlet for my competitive
Mm-hmm.
juices, if you
For
will.
sure, man.
Again, always loved fishing and came to a Columbus Bassmasters meeting one night. And yeah, the rest, as they say, is history.
Is that pretty much
So,
when you started getting
um,
serious about it?
yeah, really it was. It was, I'd grown up like so many of us, watching Bill Dance, Roland Martin, watching Bassmaster on TNN. And, it was always something that was, a big part of my life. But, there was a lot of other things that, you know, were always conflicting. But I would say certainly in the last 7 or 8 years, it's been, you know, family, career, and then
Yep.
fishing.
I think I have those
So
same
that's,
order.
you know,
I think I have the same order. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's cool, man. I feel you. I grew up doing the same, and then all of a sudden you just kind of like, man, I really want to do this. I wanted to see how good I can get at it. And so you've been doing it seriously a lot
yeah.
longer than me, but we're on my way, buddy. What's your favorite lake, real quick, before we get into the other stuff?
Oh gosh. Man, I heard you talking about the St. Lawrence earlier, and I had a chance to go up there. I fished in the Bassmaster Open in 2019,
Oh, that's right.
and as much as I love Erie, and if I could only catch one fish for the rest of my life, it would definitely be smallmouth.
Hmm.
But I had a chance to go up to Clayton and fish in the Open there for a couple of days, and that place, I mean, obviously look no farther than the Elite Series this past week. But I mean, that place is just so special.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean that I fished Gunnersville, Eufaula, Erie, lots of lakes around here and things like that. But if if I could only go one place, even though it's iced over for 3 or 4 months out of the year, I would live St. Lawrence,
Well,
Ontario, right in that little nook.
I totally hear you. And that's one of the things that I like about living in Ohio is that Granted, out our back door, I guess, isn't the best. It's still fun, and we have a great time doing it. But as far as what's available within an 8 hour drive is so much good fishing. And having, and I've thought quite a bit about, man, I should move down somewhere and just, fish somewhere. But then I would be so in withdrawal about not being able to go up to Erie or whatever, or St. Clair. And because that's so addicting, it's on another level of addicting to me.
It is.
Well, that's cool. We need to do that. Like I said, I don't know if you heard me say it, but I'm thinking about maybe doing the Toyota if you ever want to do any of that stuff. Man, another one would be um, I obviously want to go to
Yeah.
Champlain. I haven't done that for whatever reason.
Yeah, very much the same. One of my coworkers actually at the brewery, she lived out that way, and I was sitting there with my laptop at my desk as I often do, doing administrative work, and of course I had Bass Live up in the corner of my, and she's like, because of course I talk way too much about fishing. She's like, "Where are they?" And I'm like, "Well, Lake Champlain," and she's like, "I lived not too far from there." So
No
yeah,
kidding.
that seems like a really really cool place too. That was set up real well. As soon as I saw Hank Cherry out that one morning, he's throwing a chatterbait in the grass and throwing a jerk bait for the smallies. I was like a man after my own heart.
Yeah, I believe it. And so chatterbait, you said. So chatterbait's a big deal for you.
Mm.
Is that your goat? Is that
Yeah, it really ever since I started. I mean, even before I started tournament fishing, to be honest. I don't know what it was. Maybe I was, watching Bassmaster when, I was an adolescent. Um, you know, and this is kind of where it all started for me. And this isn't even the original skirt on it anymore, but they don't even make these anymore. But this is called a chatterfrog, and it was like after the original chatterbait came out, they started making those, and
Z-Man did?
it had the Elastec, but what's that?
It was Z-Man that made the chatter frogs?
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely it was. Yeah, and it had the Elastec. It looked, kind of like a grub, only with the frog legs turned out kind of thing
huh.
on them. And I bought these things, probably a couple of dozen every year. And I would just go out to the ponds and, places around me and just fish that thing. And it was just something that I looked at as being kind of different.
Mm-hmm.
And then, when I first started tournament fishing, I, still had a couple here and there, but I really hadn't. Everybody talks so much about knowing yourself as an angler, having your confidence stuff, and I kind of rediscovered it after probably a couple of years of tournament fishing when I was kind of trying to imitate other people too much, or just learning about the next best thing, listening to a lot of doc talk, and
Mm-hmm.
finally when I started picking up one of these and really kind of going to work post spawn all the way through the fall, really, I started the quality of fish that I started to catch went up. I wouldn't say that the numbers necessarily were as much, but when you're fishing for 5 bites, you're fishing in a team tournament like we are on Tuesday nights, and your partner's throwing a trick worm or something like that off the back of the boat. He's kind of getting the numbers, and if you can get the kickers,
Mm-hmm.
then life can be pretty good.
Yeah, that is good. We don't do that. Me and Tony. We ought to start.
Yeah,
This
yeah. I
year.
mean, Will and I,
What's that?
yeah,
I just we haven't. I This year
Will and I do fish.
I've thrown the chatterbait not very much. Sorry. Go ahead. There's a little delay.
Yeah,
Whatever. I don't know why.
yeah. I don't know why either, but
So
but yeah, Will
chatterbait
and I
fishing.
mean, certainly I know there's a lot of guys who fish really similarly and they fish really well together. Other guys they need to fish very different from one another. Guys like Bob Ferris and Dan Campbell, while they, I think they're definitely kind of like the opposite ends of the spectrum, but they obviously clean up. I think they're fourth in the AOY for Tuesday nighters this year, and they're just so darn consistent.
Yeah.
Bob's a power fisherman through and through. I've seen him set the hook on an 11 incher, and it goes from one end of the gunnel all the way over the boat to the other end of the gunnel. And what Dan will pick up a shaky head and just go to work as well. So,
Hmm.
I think that there's certainly guys who, team tournament partners who they fish really similarly and they get dialed into something and they can go from zero to hero in a second. But I think Will and I, I think we kind of strike that balance of being able to kind of adapt. And if one of us starts catching them really well, doing one thing, then the other will pick up that thing perhaps. But usually
Hmm.
we try to figure them out kind of from two different angles and try to meet in the middle.
Yeah, that's definitely the way to do it. So with chatterbaits, first of all, do you ever fish? You know, do you fish them for? Do you fish for smallies ever with chatterbait or not? Do you?
For
Okay.
sure.
All right.
Yep. And
Oh well, yeah.
we've caught multiple fish over 4 pounds. Smallmouth that are over 4 pounds in the last couple of years on Tuesday nights, and they were coming on chatterbaits. Again, so summer pattern, and I think especially at Alum Creek, a lot of that has to do with the fact that the perch population there has just really skyrocketed in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I want
A lot of
to
guys,
definitely want
yeah,
to talk about that. So I'll just finish my. I've never really targeted smallmouth with a chatterbait, and I know I should because I know those guys do catch them at alum on them, and I never really do. Every time I pick it up, I'm trying to go for largemouth. In my head, I need to change that. But as far as the perch goes, tell me about the perch. Have they always been there? Has it just been something recently they've exploded, or what's going on? Because I don't remember in the past that being a big deal.
yeah. I remember when I first started fishing here. When I first moved here, and you know, even shortly after I got my first boat, I would occasionally catch one on a drop shot,
Mm-hmm.
and they generally weren't all that big, and a couple of inches, 4 or 5 inches at most. But back in, I think it was in 20 actually. There was a big fish kill in the off season, and it wiped out most of the white bass population. And if you talk to a lot of guys who fish down, consistently the last 10 years or so, they'll say, the white bass used to be, I mean, we'd be there on a Tuesday night in 2019 or something like that. And there'd be just surface feeds going on, and your heart would get going, and you'd be
Yeah.
ready. Summertime sunsets. Just ready to throw that top water, and you'd throw a spook out there, or pop R or whatever, and just white bass after white bass
No
after white
doubt.
bass.
I didn't
Well,
ever think of that. It's gone away, huh?
yeah,
Huh.
it has. And I mean, there were even times that I would go out and specifically target white bass just to put some fish in the freezer or something.
Yeah.
And
You go find them
now
in a
you don't. I
cove.
mean, occasionally you'll catch them, but not very often.
I haven't caught one all year that I can remember. Hmm.
Yep.
Is
Yeah.
that
Whereas we used to catch them a lot,
dude?
a
They'd
lot.
start
And I
going
think
crazy.
that,
They'd start
yeah,
just biting everywhere. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I think that again, it's one of those deals where they occupied a specific part of the food chain. Feeding on the small minnows and things like that. And I think if you talk to a lot of crappie fishermen in Allen the last couple of years, the crappie has just been astronomically good. And then I think again the perch has sort of slid into that part of the food chain there. And what I've noticed the last couple of years is that, especially in the summertime, unless the wind was just right, you'd struggle to catch. You could always catch numbers in the grass at Alum, but the bigger fish weren't really there, hardly at all. You'd have to go offshore for them, and I'm talking both largemouth and smallmouth. But I'd say back in 21, and especially last year and this year, you'll be throwing, a green pumpkin chatterbait, a spinnerbait, something moving through the grass, especially if you're around coontail or, milfoil that's in alum, and you'd see these little 5 and 6 inch perch just chasing them right back to the boat. And next thing you're hooked up to a 3+ pound, either smallmouth or largemouth. So it seemed like that bigger class of fish, some part of the population was staying shallow just to feed on those perch, because sure they could go out there and eat bluegill, but that's mainly the largemouth. They're a lot harder to eat for them and things like that. And I think again for both largemouth and smallmouth, they're easier to eat, a little bit more of a calorie bomb, and they're just living in that grass, waiting for a perch to come by.
hmm, that's super good information, Matt. Because I would rather eat perch too, so I get it.
Yeah,
But
amen to that.
But no, that's interesting, man, because I did not know about that white bass kill, and I might have heard it in passing or something, but I sure didn't realize it was such a big deal, and it didn't even occur to me that I have not seen any of that for years over there. Because I'm not like fishing for white bass.
Yep.
I mean, I'd pick up like a finesse minnow and throw it through the dang, explosions whenever I'd see them and chase them around and have some fun. But I didn't ever really, it wasn't anything I paid any attention to. So that's interesting to hear that that happened.
Hmm.
I wonder if that did that. Was there any ever reasoning for that? I was wondering if it happened elsewhere too, like at Indian, because it was the same kind of thing at Indian there. But I haven't been to Indian in
Yeah,
2 years.
that's a question. Yeah, that's a question I'm not really sure on as far as what exactly killed off the white bass.
Hmm.
I don't know if it was maybe, I don't remember. I've got old man brain when it thinks, I think of the winter of 20 because most of that year I just want to forget anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
but I don't know if it was just a really harsh winter or what the deal was, but
I don't know.
that's one of those things that you heard through the grapevine, but the proof is in the pudding. If you go up there, at sunset anytime the last couple of years, you don't see those things busting, busting schools of small shatter minnows.
No, you don't. But I bet you Dale would have maybe some insider info on that.
Dale or Rich Carter, either one of those guys.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Rich, obviously. I'm sure Rich knows what's going on with that. That's
Mhm.
interesting. I'm going to, one of
Yep.
these days, ask him about it. So, the club you've been going for about 7 years, 7, 8 years with the club,
Yes.
something. So, what do you think?
Hmm.
Talk to me about the club as far as what the culture of the club. What makes a good club work?
Mm. Yeah. Um, Anecdotally, I kind of mentioned, after I knew that, my body was telling me, hey, you can't play hockey anymore. You need to find something else to do. I just showed up, guy off the street to a club meeting because when I reached out, and it might have been Scott Gordon or somebody, when I reached out and said, hey, I'm potentially interested in joining the club. What should I do? They're like, come to a meeting. I'm like, all right, cool. So I got there early and I was talking to one of the club members, Terry Hall, guy who looks like Santa Claus.
Yeah.
And we were just kind of BSing, you know, before the meeting. And so, they're talking about during the course of the meeting, their last upcoming tournament, which is at Clear Fork that year. It was either in September or October. I can't remember at this point. And, Terry didn't have a partner. He didn't, get a partner in the draw. So he looked at me and was like, hey, do you want to come fishing? So decided to go. Said yes, of course, and was like, yeah, I want to see what this whole thing's about. And to me, that's kind of a microcosm for you know the culture that's in the club of guys trying to be very inclusive, trying to bring other people along, be it from a knowledge standpoint or helping each other out. I can think of, I want to say it was maybe, excuse me, last year, the year before, Brandon, a guy from our club, we were coming back from Mosquito, and again, Mosquito from Central Ohio. I mean, Mosquito is one of my favorite lakes in Ohio for sure, especially among inland lakes. First tournament I've ever won back in 2019, I won on Mosquito, on a chatterbait, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But we were coming back from Mosquito, and there was some sort of vehicle going down the highway. They had furniture in the back of the vehicle. Something came undone, a desk or whatever fell out on the freeway, and Brandon, a guy from our club who has, I think, a 520 and older Ranger or something like that, nothing that he could do, hit the
Oh.
piece of furniture on the road. Not only did it hit him on the right side, so not only did it take out his spare tire, messed up his fender, and then of course took out the tire on there. So he literally only had, because it took out his spare, he had
Mm.
one tire. And so he made him, a post, and next thing you know, there's four bass boats and a couple of extra trucks, like all lined up behind him because a bunch of us had turned around,
Mm.
went back to help him. I think it's again this camaraderie that I don't think that you can necessarily get in a lot of places, and be it you know our age, our race, our backgrounds, our financial situations. We all just love to fish, man, and having that in common alone is almost enough, just to kind of have us come together, help each other out. So,
Oh, dude,
I
hundred
hear a
percent.
lot about lots of clubs that are just on paper and they don't want to do club tournaments and they're not really interested in doing conservation events or youth fishing stuff, and that's fine. If that's where you're at as an angler, more power to you. But I like to feel like I'm a part of something bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where at least our club I think does a really nice job. And I mean, I think we have 32 anglers or something like that. We're one of the bigger clubs in Ohio. That's certainly not just a paper club where you pay $40 and all of a sudden you're a member.
Mm-hmm.
We actually have club tournaments. We do conservation. We do youth fishing stuff. And to me, it's rewarding to do that stuff on top of going out and catching bass and sharing information, having fun, and cutting up like we did this past weekend at Erie.
Yeah, we had we had an awesome time. And I'm just going to go ahead and call it right now. I mean, you, the conservation effort, you guys went and you picked up all kinds of trash at Alum Creek, and I'm going to just go ahead and say that I had the
DumbBass moment.
it was me by not going, man. I didn't even hear about it until it was over. And to be honest with you, I fished with that Sean Gear, the new guy,
Yeah.
on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
There's a picture of you guys cleaning up everything that I should be in, and I really apologize for that. But I didn't even know about it. He told me about it that he went, and he said, you guys mentioned it. I didn't know, and I must have missed it. It must have been at the meeting because I didn't remember seeing it in a text. But I'm totally down for doing that kind of stuff, man. Obviously, and that is what makes the world go around. If you want to say that, as far as everybody, it takes everybody's hand to help out and keep stuff clean and just being a freaking adult about stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I do
Well,
I do
and
apologize
again,
about that.
the dumb bass moment, I think my guy, well, and that's the sort of thing that we always do something like that, be it recycling old baits so they don't end up in a landfill or something like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't consider you that at all. Who I do consider to be dumb basses are all the people that clearly are fishing from the bank. And we collected 550 pounds of trash, give or take. I think there was 8 or 10 of us. Don't remember exactly off the top of my head, but you know, you
Mm.
would go around, like, say, the campground at Alum, or you'd go around the frisbee golf courses or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and there's hardly any trash there. But man, you'd go down by the bank where there was a path down there or something like that, or a little bit of a clearing, and there would just be, I mean, the first 10 minutes that I was there, I filled up a big yard waste trash bag. There must have been 3 cases worth of beer bottles, all sorts of styrofoam, food wrappers, you name it.
Yeah,
So
I don't. I
to
just
me,
get.
the Dumbbasses Award goes to people who just don't clean up after themselves when they go out fishing.
Yep. If you're out there fishing, and you got a can of night crawlers, and you leave it there, let me tell you something, buddy.
You're having a DumbBass moment.
I just like doing that. But yeah, no, that's ridiculous. I don't. I have no idea the mentality of the people that can go there and do that kind of thing, Matt. It's just beyond my imagination, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. And then they go home and do the same damn shit in their yard. I
Yep.
guarantee it. But that's awesome that you do that, and I'm a million
Yep.
percent in for the next one. And I know that you do that. You do
Absolutely,
the
man.
co- the bait recycling. You do, and you pour your own baits, right? And you do a lot of the youth fishing stuff, the mentoring program, and all of a sudden all the stuff that we do are at the club. So tell me a little bit about what you do in that department, because that's super important. Especially, I got 3 kids, man. My son loves fishing. I got another son just had. He's going to want to fish, and that's very important stuff.
Yeah, it is. And it's something that's really important to me too. A lot of people have, had, you know, adult figures in their childhood and things like that taught them how to fish or took them fishing a lot, and I didn't necessarily have that growing up. And most of what I learned from a fishing standpoint, I've either learned on my own or learned peer to peer, as adult to adult kind of thing. And still remember telling my wife when we bought our first boat, I bought a 99 Skeeter, 176 off of Will Presley, my fishing partner, and
Hmm.
I we restored the boat. It was a perfect starter boat. I remember telling my wife, I was like, honey, whenever it's possible, and we both have careers and things like that, and obviously, tournament schedules and whatnot. But I remember saying to her, if if I have an opportunity, especially if it means, a kid who wants to fish, between them not being able to fish and because somebody they don't have enough boats for their tournament or something like that, I want to make that possible if I can. And
Mhm.
so, that's something that's really, really important to me. The first time I took out kids, it was actually on Alum Creek. Uh, you know, they were boyfriend and girlfriend. So they probably should have had limits both days, but they were making googly eyes at each other so much the whole darn day that they were
Nice.
missing bites left and right.
That's cute.
But they ended up actually getting big bass for the tournament. They caught like a 3¼ pound smallie or something like that. And this past spring, I had an opportunity to take out a couple of young kids that were super cool, and especially the one young gentleman, Marlon. He actually also ended up winning big bass for the tournament that day, and you know I had felt like I had caught an 18-pound bag, or I had won a
Yeah,
big bass for the tournament that
absolutely.
day, because just seeing the look in his face um, was super cool.
Yeah.
Although I wasn't as happy because we we invited him. Another member of our club invited him to fish with us up at Delaware at our club tournament this past year,
Yeah.
and this little 11-year-old kid beat the brakes off of a bunch of guys who've been fishing Delaware for a couple of decades or more, on a chatterbait of all things, and he won the freaking tournament, man.
No
He beat
way.
all of us. He ended up
No
with 10
way.
pounds.
He probably still
Yeah.
hadn't, he's probably still telling his friends about that one.
Yeah, and I had given him. No, it wasn't that chatterbait that I'd given him, but I'd given him a white jackhammer because he and I had just went out fishing after we had fished together at you know at the youth fishing tournament. He had just messaged me and said, hey Matt, if you ever have time, can we go fishing? I was like, absolutely, buddy. We'll just make sure it's all right with your mom and dad, and we'll go out and have a good time together. And a couple weeks later, then he takes my and everybody else's money up at Delaware on a chatterbait.
Nice. Nice. Well, Adam says Chatterbait is the king on Delaware. So uh, I have
Yeah.
I have caught some good fish on a chatterbait up there too. That's awesome, Matt, that you do all that stuff. You've got my cell phone number now. We always just kept in touch through Facebook. But man, don't hesitate to reach out if you want me to help with any of that stuff. I love all that. And like you say, and honestly, yes, kids, but even adults that don't fish and they get to go fishing. Like the guy I was fishing with, Sean, man, he only caught that one smallmouth in his life at Alum at the one event this
Mm-hmm.
season, and
I think he
so
was fishing with Rich from the club.
yes, he was.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And that was his only fish or whatever. But man, it was a 3.5 pound dang smallie, and it was his first one. And then we get up there, and he did pretty well. There was a couple places I was like, I'm gonna let him throw there first, and he got good fish there. So it was great. I wasn't mad.
Yeah.
I wasn't mad at all. As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
he's gonna fish with me
Yeah.
on Tuesday in a couple weeks because Tony's out of
Oh,
town.
that's awesome.
Yeah, Tony's out of town. I'm gonna skip tomorrow, buddy. I got my daughter's in softball, and her team needs me to help coach. So I got to do some softball coaching tomorrow. So I'm gonna miss that, but I can miss it and still do the championship. I was told.
Yeah, you guys already qualified for the fish off, so yeah.
Yeah.
Family comes first.
So you got are you specific with a rod or anything like that? Is there any kind of, I don't know if you've got sponsorships with anybody, anything you want to bring up? No.
I don't have any sponsorships or anything like that, other than my wife and Cymac Real Estate. She's a real estate broker and agent, so she is the best sponsor this man could ever ask for. But
Nice.
when it comes to, I've gone through so many chatterbait rods until I've really found a couple that I really, really like a lot. And I was throwing them on crankbait rods there for a while. I experimented with some glass rods, different graphite rods. Like I said, I went through at least 5 before I found ones that I really, really liked. So, the one that I like for a 3/8 ounce, um, it's the Megabass Levante
Mm-hmm.
Diablo Spec R. So it's like a 7.2. It's like, I guess it's technically a medium heavy. I think it's a little bit closer to a medium than a medium heavy, or on the heavier side of things. But this is the one that I actually caught. So the first day at Erie this weekend, I caught one that was like 394, and then uh, yeah, and that's what this came on.
Hmm.
So and I usually throw it on. This is a Bantam 7-1, Shimano Bantam 7-1. I just started using these reels this year. I've been throwing Corrado DCs there for a while, and you have the R2D2, noise.
That's my favorite reel,
Every time
though.
you cast with one of those.
That's my favorite reel, though, and I have
Yeah,
Metaniums and I've got Bantams too. You know what, Matt? I actually do throw my chatterbait
yeah.
on a Bantam, but bro, I actually do. Yep, same thing.
Do you really?
Yep.
Yep. And I have found, as much as I do like the DCs, these actually will outcast them. At least in my experience, they have been. I can pound for pound get a couple more yards out of these than I can, and I like the fact that too you get a couple more pounds of drag on these than you do with the Corrados. And I think that especially when you're chatterbait fishing, and especially in the grass, when you pull it out of the grass and one comes up and hits it and tries to dive back down, and bury itself in the grass, being able to have that little extra to be able to really like lock them down and really yank them out of there can really be the difference of you getting a fish in or not.
Mm-hmm.
But the other one, and I just started using this rod last year, um, thanks to Chris Fisher, who's in our club, who fishes ALXs. This is an ALX Enox BMJ, so this is a medium heavy plus. It's a 7.2 as well. But if I'm fishing a half ounce or more, even if I do step it up to 3/8, or excuse me, 3/4 every so often, man, this rod has been money for me. And
Hmm.
you know, chatterbait fishing, as anybody could probably tell you, has fished them a lot and has gone through the same pain that I have. Watching fish jump off of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Finding the right rod is so important. And usually, when it comes to line, usually around here, I'm throwing it on 15 pound, usually either Seagar, Invisex, or Tatsu, if I can find like a bulk spool that I don't have to take a second mortgage out to
Yeah.
buy.
Yep.
If I go down south or something like that, and I know that there is a chance of catching, something in that 7 pound or more class, I might step it up to 17 or something like that. But
Yeah. I'm
yeah, that's
about
my
the same.
setup, man. And big thing, just keep your hook sharp. That's one of those things. I always keep a file in my boat, and I will notice, because I'll use the same chatterbait and trailers as long as I need to. And some of the stuff that I do is, especially on the green pumpkin ones in clear water, I've noticed that I get more bites if my blades are dark. Um, on a shad colored one, not as big of a deal, but on something like this, that's kind of a green pumpkin with a chartreuse in it,
Oh yeah.
that's really a perch or a bluegill imitator.
So you don't like the
Having that
flash?
blade dark, and unfortunately, go ahead.
You like the darker blades, not the flashy stuff.
Yeah, yeah. At least if I'm throwing like a green pumpkin one, and it seems like, at least you know when they're feeding on birch or bluegill, at least in my experience, keeping those blades dark, and you'd think for $16 a jackhammer, the green pumpkin paint that they put on there would stay on there. But after you use them for a little while, you'll definitely start to see some of that paint flake off.
Yep.
So big thing that I use, blade dye.
Oh, nice.
Just we were down, we were up in Wisconsin, and I was I had been throwing chatterbaits while we were up there in practice, and I had a coat hanger, and I had like a bunch of chatterbaits hanging off of it. Alex Connor and Colton Dinian are looking at me because I'm like sitting there dipping the blades in the dye like this, and then hanging them on this coat hanger. They're like,
Nice.
Matt, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, trying to get more bites, my guy.
That's awesome. That's a good tip. That's a real good tip, because they certainly do chip. You know, that's awesome. See, Matt,
And
you
then
are.
trailers, I keep it.
Go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
bud. Go ahead, buddy. I was just gonna say you're super meticulous, man, with
Oh yeah,
your. I know you are detailed. You are.
try to be. Doesn't always work out that way, but trailer wise, I usually try to keep it pretty simple. If I'm throwing like a black and blue or trying to imitate a craw, I really like the Rojas fighting frog by Big Bite. You might have to peel off some of the side legs or something like that, but especially on a black and blue chatterbait, this thing's killer.
Okay.
Um,
Nice.
but most, if I'm imitating like any sort of bait fish or something like that, usually I'll stick with something that's got either a straight tail or a pintail. And I've experimented with like the boot tails. There was a while there I was throwing Kitex and just they had the boot tail on, and then I started snipping off just the paddle on the end just so it was straight. That's when I noticed I was starting to kind of like get a better quality of fish. So
What is that?
Z-Man razor shads is something I use a
Oh,
lot, and then a skunk shad.
yeah. I was gonna say I'm stuck on the spunk shads
Um,
right now too, man. That's been what I've
yeah,
been
dude.
on.
I actually had a chance to, gosh, this was like 2018, I want to say, 2017, 2018. My wife and I went down to Tennessee. We actually went down to Nashville for a show, but we drove over to Chickamauga just to kind of check it out, see the battlefield, and I got a chance, and I forget the owner's name, but we actually just kind of like knocked on the door and showed up. Super cool guy, gave us a tour of the whole place, bought a bunch of stuff,
Oh, Scott.
including these before I think a lot of
Scott
yeah.
Showmaker or whatever his name is. I know Scott real well, actually,
hmm
or pretty dang well, I'll say.
Yeah, super cool dude, and super welcoming, and he just let us in, stopped what he was doing, showed us around and everything, and then I walked out of there with a couple $100 worth of A rigs and spunk shads and you know burrito shed or whatever those things are.
Yep. I've sent him some stuff from my business, and he sent me some stuff from his, so we know each other pretty well. He's a good dude, man. Absolutely down there in Chattanooga, which man, I love it down there. I got to tell you, that's one of my favorite places on earth.
Yeah, I think what you were saying about earlier. I think at least in this point in my life, I would miss having seasons and things, but my wife and have already talked, and if fortunate enough to make it to retirement age, if I could retire anywhere, it'd be right down there,
I'm
man.
leaning
Such
there
beautiful
too.
country, the people are great.
I'm leaning there too. And there's
Yeah,
seasons down there, bro. I lived out in San Diego for 14 years, and there's no seasons out there. And that's one of the things that
yeah,
I did miss. I really did, because the first Christmas, I remember being out there when it was like 75. It was weird. Christmas lights on palm trees and crap. So, yeah.
yeah.
And so if you're retired and you go down there, you just drive. You just drive up to Erie, and it's not a big deal. So I'm with you. I would rather live there at some point, but I just really miss having I've luckily been lucky enough to live on water a couple times in my life, and that is the best. So, anyway.
Yeah.
Well, Matt, you gave some really good info tonight, buddy, and I appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate you putting up with me by myself. I was trying. This is my first. I'm learning, brother. I'm just trying to do this because it's fun, and we don't really have anybody that talks to the local anglers here in Columbus area. So I just thought it would be a cool thing to do, and I really appreciate you being on, man.
I enjoyed the heck out of it, man. And yeah, anytime you want to have somebody on in the future, let me know, and be happy to jump in, or even come down, be there in the
In
Bass Hole
studio,
studio.
no doubt.
I'll yeah, I'll bring some beer that we made at the old brewery with me, and
I gotta try
we'll
that.
we'll have
We
a good
didn't
time with
mention
you,
that,
buddy.
but you work at a brewery.
I do. I work at Wolves Ridge Brewing. I'm the lead production brewer. So yeah, when people ask me what I do, I
That's
get
an
to say I
awesome
make
thing to
beer
tell
every
them.
day.
That's an awesome thing to
So
tell them. Is there food there too, man, or is it just a brewery?
yeah, yeah. So our original location, we have like a tap room towards the back with pub food and whatnot, and there's a little bit more of a you know restauranty sort of feel in the front of the restaurant as well. So
Cool.
I spend most of my time at our production facility, where we make the vast majority of our beer. But we certainly still do have a brewery downtown off of Fourth Street there as well, where we make real small batches of stuff when the brewers get some crazy ideas of some fun stuff to make that's just kind of draft only or something. That's where we do it down there. So
awesome.
You can come down there and again, if you ever, and for anybody who's watching or anything like that, just call down there, ask to set up a tour, with either myself or our master brewer, and we'll be happy to show you around and teach you all about beer.
That's awesome, man. I have done some brewing in my day, and I actually have a ton of brewing equipment that has been sitting there for a few years. And I've mentioned lately getting back into it. So maybe you'll come over and show me what the hell I need to do. I love doing it. I
Be
just
happy
was
to.
getting super fat because I was doing all the stouts and porters and stuff. And I was like, man, I got to stop doing this. I'm getting boobs. So anyway, but all right, brother, I'm going to let you go and I'm going to jump off here and go get some dinner.
All right, brother. Well, have a great night, and I know I won't see you this week, but I'll certainly see you the week after.
I'll see you the week after. Absolutely, man. We'll do some talking. Good to have you on. Nice to learn a little bit about you, Matt. Have a great night, brother.
See you, bud.
Bye-bye. Oh, man, I'll tell you what. I got to go to the bathroom so bad. I've been sitting here squiggling, trying not to pee my pants. But I appreciate everybody tuning in this evening. Tuesday night or tomorrow, all kinds of fun stuff for the week. You guys got any ideas of stuff you want to talk about or have me talk about with people, by all means, leave me a message in the link or send me an email, whatever. In the meantime, DumbBasses. Out of here.